Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to finish up this week's theme of folk music with a band called Comus. This is one I've seen a couple of times in comments saying we need to check out for this week's theme, so I'm excited to get around to them. Although this album art is disturbing, I think intentionally so. The track's called The Prisoner. Let's see what these guys are bringing to the table. Very emotive. Wildly chaotic, but seemingly cohesive. Interesting change of pace here.
I was mine and was accepted for treatment at a hospital for the mentally sick. I was wild and introvert, wandering alone in the night.
Interesting. I love the multiple vocalist angle.
I would scream rage should someone disturb my So they took me away and they put me here alone in my silent privacy.
No strong foundational elements here. We have three mostly moving ideas in our primary instruments here.
And they gave me some treatment. When I woke, I was numb and remembered nothing.
Love it.
I lie alone, unable to remember.
Okay.
No face, no name, no eyes, my brain just a
We've moved to this triplet feel in pretty much everything. The violin, the guitar, and our hand drums that we've added. Beautiful harmonies.
Cold is the climate, dark is the atomic night. Searching and hoping, guarding my mind from your side. Your evil eyes watch me, your evil eyes
I love all the
watch me
dynamic qualities going into this.
I can stand prison, but even my conscience you hold. Let me be. Set me free.
That little bit of human element in this, I think, really works well. A little bit of out of syncness that our vocalists have. To say that was a bit unexpected, I think would be an understatement. Wow, so many cool things. We're gonna start with man. I guess we're just gonna go section by section. Because the neat thing is, a lot of the folk we've checked out this week has been fairly repetitious. Uh, and this one is a linear drive. I don't think there's any repeated idea. We just keep progressing to the next concept. Um, Very different from yesterday's Bob Dylan track, which was 19 identical verses back to back. Um, which is cool in what the song achieved, but I do like my changing ideas, my contrast, forward progression, and linear composition. So this song has some cool stuff going on in it. Let's dive into this. We have our first section. We are introduced to our three primary instruments. We have a violin off to the left, a guitar, maybe a steel guitar, has very harsh attacks on it. Um, and then we have an acoustic guitar, I think, centered. And these move around as well, too. I think I'm putting those placements based off of that first verse, if we want to call it that, the first time that the vocals come in. But I think technically in the intro, our violin was centered and our guitars were out to the side. So there is some movement around with the instrument placement, which is neat. Um, but primarily through the section, we have three instruments that are constantly moving. I think our steel guitar is just bouncing back and forth between two notes or maybe two chords quickly. Um, there isn't a lot of movement to it as far as, going outside of this one specific range. It really is bouncing back and forth between two tones, but the thing is that it's bouncing back and forth quickly. They are playing eighth notes and constantly moving back and forth. There is no moment of rest here. This constant eighth note idea is also showcased in our violin that's on our left side with a more melodic flow to it. It's moving notes, it rises in pitch, drops in pitch, and just has this constant forward momentum, almost linear feel to it at times. Though there is a 2-bar loop, I think, going on in it. And then our acoustic guitar sort of jumps between both of these ideas depending on what section we're on, where sometimes it'll just rest between two notes and kind of go for that chordal angle while still providing that momentum, or other times have another melody that is played alongside our violin and alongside our vocals. I had mentioned in the reaction that there is no foundational element. We don't have anybody holding out notes. We don't have anybody playing, just straight chord, just laying down a chord for a section. We don't have any floor beds or floors or floor beds. We don't have any note beds or note floors or anything like that. Nothing that really sits under it. Everybody is moving and dancing and constantly attacking. It's eighth notes all the time, everywhere. It is exhausting at times, but it's what they chose to do. It is an immense amount of uh, counterpoint in a sense. There aren't any linear melodies going on to really point towards strong counterpoint, but we do have sometimes three, sometimes four ideas going off simultaneously that are about momentum and direction, not about filling in atmosphere or creating uh, spatial elements to the track. It's always about driving forward. It's about getting that next note out in the next half of a beat, whether it's bouncing back and forth between two notes or actually having a bit of a melody or a riff to go along to. And like I said, we put our vocals on top of that, but our vocals are not in isolation either. They exist here as our lead vocalist, kind of. We'll call it a lead vocalist for the section because we do have different voices that take this center channel, this lead section. So we have our centered vocals, and then it's call and response with a right vocal, and then it's call and response with both side vocals, which was interesting. We had, I think, a female on the right and a male on the left, and they provided harmonies in opposition to what our vocalist was doing in the center channel. So there's just, in this one area, not even just the music, but the vocals as well, which is not just the instruments, but the vocals as well. There's so much going on. It is, like I mentioned, exhausting. I think a minute into this, minute and a half into this, I was kind of already mentally, my brain was wanting to check out. And I'm like, no, stick with it. We got to dig into this. What is this dude doing? What is that dude doing? What's this instrument doing over here? And my brain's like, this is a lot, man. How about I just take a 5 minute break? I'm like, the song's only 5 minutes. Um, yeah, it is. It is just a lot going on, and that's only the first section of the song. We get into the second section, and we begin to hear even more of this. The vocals begin to have more power to them. The instruments begin to get wider and more layered. Our side vocals begin to come in more frequently and begin to overlap, and we begin to hear more harmonizations going on. It becomes a lot, that's for sure. Our third section, we kind of shift over to a new vocalist. Kind of sounds like an old lady kind of thing going on. But the format stays the same. However, it leads us into our final moment, which is what I really want to focus on here. This is where everything comes together for me. Prior to this, we've kind of been at one level. We've escalated a little bit, but it's all the same format right here. The bridge, or whatever you want to call about minute 4.5, we drop it down and we actually hear some really wide volume dynamics as well as width dynamics because we reduce the instrumentation of the section. Volume wise, my mixer was showing we got a 20 dB difference here, sometimes 25 even. And as they allowed the instruments to naturally fade off and the voice to naturally fade away as well at the end, taper off the tone. We even went down into a 20 to 25 dB difference. Yeah, 10 to 15 and then 20 to 25. There we go. I was like, wait, I just said 20. Um, they really allow the softer moments to feel soft by being soft. It's not about still having that same volume, but appearing soft or kind of feeling like it's quieter, but not actually getting quieter. No, they allow the volume to speak for itself. And they do this also through the width. We reduce the instrumentation in this section as well, and we have these bursts of bringing in some sound and allowing it to taper off, and then bringing in the sound and allowing it to taper off. And just the overall dynamic quality here is interesting. I don't know what it means, how it fits in the larger story. In fact, I really don't know what the story is here. It just seems like we have had a ton of forward momentum, and at this moment in the song, it's petering out. Right? It's like you're running out of gas and your car's like chikum, 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 right? Like in the movies. I don't know what cars actually do when they run out of gas, but Hollywood has told me that that's what they do. They get a couple of chugs out left. And that's kind of what this felt like doing. We have these bursts of energy, but they taper back off. They're diminished. They don't last very long, which is very different from the constant drive and force that we've had throughout the entire track. It has been almost at a whiplash pace, and here we can barely even get the song started for more than a beat. It's a wild part, but once the song does pick back up steam, we dig into it hard. The next section is the jam band section. I don't know what it's really called. That's what I'm calling it. And I don't know if it actually is a jam to them. It could all be completely pre-composed, but to me it just feels very jammy. Everybody is doing their own things. And it continues to escalate. We rise in volume, we rise in width, we rise in intensity. The instruments all begin to start playing their own lines. We move away, even on our steel guitar, I think it is, from the alternating hits to melody. All of our instruments have movement. Our vocalists no longer take turns doing the call and response thing. They are all singing simultaneously, and things are at their most chaotic. Here, it almost feels like the song can't contain all of this, and it is highly difficult to, or immensely difficult, to pay attention to any one specific idea. It's at this point, not long after, where our vocalist comes in and just starts laying down syllables at an alarming pace. I don't know if there are actual lyrics there or if it was vocalizations, but everybody is just getting into this raw speed and direction. The song is veering off into a wall, and no one is trying to stop it. And this leads into our final moment, which is the insane panning. Yes, that was a pun. It is actually some wild panning going on, but also all of our vocalists are saying insane on repeat and just looping and looping and looping, and then we actually get a halfway delay. So instead of insane, 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 we get insane, 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 because they have this half beat loop where they're taking this one idea and it gets echoed between the two intended hits. So we have this sort of fluctuating, this fluctuating feeling of this word kind of wrapping in around on itself while also wildly panning back and forth. And it is overload. It is not a comfortable ending to the track at all, and I think that's the purpose of it. Um, I don't know what it all means though. It is a wild trip to take. I was made very uncomfortable at a couple points and overwhelmed in many points. let's dig into the lyrics. I think this is going to be the key to unlocking most of this. Uh, let's see what's going on here. I was mad and was accepted for treatment at a hospital for the mentally sick. So I was told. I was wild and introvert, wandering alone in the night. So I was. So I am told. I would scream in rage should someone disturb my eye peace. So I did. So I must hide. So they took me away and they put me here alone in my silent privacy. Yeah, so we have somebody who's mentally ill, very withheld from the world, and it says wild. So I'm guessing that they, because of their condition, they didn't observe social norms, right? Especially since they said they go wandering alone at night, which is just most people don't do that. But also the wild part makes me think that maybe there's some cognitive things going on where they just don't know how to act in public. They don't know, like I said, the social norms, the unspoken rules of public behavior. It says I would scream and rage. So they took me and put me here. So they took him to, well, what we would call today a mental health facility, but I'm going to assume that by some of the language here, possibly what would be deemed an insane asylum at the time. Oh, look at this. Then they gave me shock treatment, and when I awoke, I was numb and remembered nothing. Yeah, shock treatment is very old and does not work according to our modern understanding of psychology. So, yeah, definitely what would be called an insane asylum for this time period. Probe me, mold me, reassemble my brain, schizoid, paranoid, just terms, just names. Why can't you leave me? Don't drive me insane. Your minds analyze me, your eyes penetrate me, illusions, confusions. I'm frightened, I'm helpless. Please leave me. I long to be free. Oh, let me be free. Yeah, that is haunting. That is haunting. The the raw language here of I mean, here's the thing too is that this is a person who might not even understand what's going on. They just know that people are constantly treating them like a science project. And that helplessness, even use that word, says, I am helpless, please leave me alone. Um, that is just terrifying. But the words, the raw language being used here, probe me, reassemble my brain, analyze me while your eyes penetrate me. It is just, that is chilling. There are a lot of ways that we could talk about these archaic forms of mentally ill treatment that would not portray the same horror vibes that we're getting here. I lie alone, unable to remember, no face, no name, no eyes, my brain just an ember. Kindle me, protect my barren matter, whose seeds may propagate yet still may shatter. They have emptied my head of its dreaming like paper out of a waste bin, and I yearn to be free. Cold is the climate, dark is the atomic night. Searching and hoping, guarding my mind from your sight. Your evil eyes watch me, your evil hands touch me. They're cold. I can stand prison, but even my conscience you hold. Let me be set free. We go back to the chorus about probing and molding, and it says, don't drive me insane, 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 insane. Yeah, I think that's pretty much on the mark. It's Very surface level, much like a lot of the stuff we've read this week as far as the lyrics go. Folk is a fantastic song format for storytelling. And this is no different. I think this takes a very dark turn, but does a fantastic job at creating empathy with somebody who would have been in an insane asylum around this time, and the sort of archaic, inhumane processes that they applied to attempting to understand or fix these people. And having all of the voices, all the vocal elements, our lead vocalist, our panning vocalists, all of it. The wild panning there at the end, the tension all throughout, this driving forward, this bit of madness that will not cease. And then, of course, the rising tension there at the end. I think the fact that I find this overwhelming and difficult to focus on is by design. It's musically designed to put you in this person's head, what they're feeling, how their brain might work, while the lyrics are there to help you empathize with their situation, their helplessness, their fear. Very effective track. Those are my thoughts on Comus's The Prisoner. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this. Anything you agree with me on, disagree with me on. If you enjoyed this or not, anything you'd like to add to my analysis, let me know. Above that description box, there's a link in there for Linktree, which will take you to this menu right here. Has everything related to the channel in it. You can pick up merch, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord community, support the channel through Patreon, some other stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps this one up. We have a special selection coming up next. Otherwise, be back on Sunday with our Patreon live stream. That'll be made available for everyone to view that night or Monday morning at the latest. I tend to be pretty good about that. And then we'll start next week's theme on Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.